Good morning and welcome to another one of Drew's book reviews. So today I am reviewing Tyler Hall's Eviscerate. Now this is actually the third book in his Ronos trilogy. Now for those of you who haven't heard of this, I definitely would recommend you start at the beginning with Catalyst and Beacon. So Tyler Hall, good friend of mine, he is a very talented writer, I have to say. His Ronos trilogy basically is a story about this one guy who figures out that the military has made things up, has been lying, hasn't really been telling the truth about this intergalactic war, and there's all these secrets about this secret planet called Ronos, which he discovers, and Mac, our hero, basically finds himself getting caught up in a whirlwind of an intergalactic space adventure between himself, General Zinger of the military, who seems hell-bent on killing anybody who and anything that stands in his way of accomplishing his goals, and the truth about these alien species that mankind is apparently fighting all over a planet that has been kept secret and hidden from everybody, and the truth about the war. So overall, that's a very basic and rudimentary plot summary for this series of books. I have reviews of the other two on my site, andrewsbookreviews.wordpress.com. Of course, I will link that site in the description below. So those ones are written reviews. But anyway, on to the review for Eviscerate. So, of course, we pick up with this where we left off with the last book, with our hero, Mac. He's stranded in orbit around Ronos in a fight for his life against General Zinger, who is basically chasing after him with a warship, shooting him up with lasers, or trying to anyway. And he has to save himself as well as some passengers, which are basically like refugees at this point, in an effort to stop Zinger and these aliens from destroying everything that they work for on the surface of Ronos, which is now actually split into a few different factions. So we've basically got the aliens that are trying to take over Ronos for their own. This is the invading aliens. Then you've got the aliens that have been there for thousands of years now, who are the same species, but that are at war with each other. And we've got, of course, the people who have lived on the surface for thousands of years. And this is because you have to go back to the earlier books to kind of understand that. This is because people had gone back in time to change the past in order to prevent the future, and everything just gets all convoluted and messed up. It's your typical time travel screwing everything up, and everything gets crazy and complicated. I like the way it was written. I love time travel stories, and I think that this was a well written book overall. I mean, it's not just a time travel story, it's got a lot in it, with regard to science fiction, action story, which I think is really awesome. It's high paced, fast, good read. It's a simply written book, but I mean, by that it's easy to read. It's definitely not simple in the sense that it's reading well for smaller kids or anything, but it's definitely a simple, quick read. So there isn't a lot of complexity in this style of writing. Unlike a lot of other books, you've got to keep track of 50 different things at the same time. With the Ronos trilogy and Tyler Hall's writing style, it's definitely more or easier to follow the story, keep track of things, because he doesn't overly complicate the story like a lot of other writers have, which is definitely, I would say, a huge benefit and a good thing. And that way, it definitely makes the story more enjoyable. One thing I'll definitely say about the Ronos trilogy overall is that it definitely has some aspects and elements to it that remind me of the Ender's Game universe by Orson Scott Card, and I love the reminders that were there. Definitely both, for example, both series of books have this insectoid-like alien race that is posing a threat to humanity or some aspect of humanity. Uh, except in the Ronalds trilogy, they're definitely unique insectoid-like alien. They're described as aliens that swarm, and they can't retain their physical body without this beacon that is on the surface of Ronos, which was the original colony ship. And so they can swarm and they will possess your body and take control of you, which I actually thought was pretty cool. But definitely that insectoid like swarming type behavior. But also, they were described as having like these alligator heads, which I thought was kind of humorous actually. I mean, if you could imagine a giant walking bug with alligator head, it's actually kind of funny, just to try and picture it. Um, but you got the swarming behavior there and the invading alien insectoid like race. You've got, sure, a young character, Mac, who has to make some very difficult and tough choices. Especially the ending of this book is definitely reminiscent of Ender's Game in the manner in which it ended and the same kind of story elements there. So that really reminded me of that. I don't want to tell you what that is, lest I spoil it for you, and I don't want to spoil it. And you'll have to pick it up and read it yourself if you want to know what I'm talking about. But trust me, if you're an Ender's Game fan, you'll see the parallels for sure. Um, I think it's kind of really cool about the story itself. One of the imaginative, creative things in which I see within this book and this story is this idea of Matt Gass and Linrock. This is this unusual element that basically gives our heroes superpowers, the ability to mind speak and communicate thoughts and words through the mind rather than speaking directly to the person out loud. But it also gives you things like superhuman strength, the ability to survive and breathe in outer space because you don't need to breathe oxygen anymore. So that's a really, really superhuman abilities, all from taking this Lin or Mac gas and Lin Rock into your system. So Ronals is basically the secret to becoming superhuman, becoming superhero, so to speak. And Mac definitely does that, but he's also fighting General Zinger, who, well, he's also got the same abilities. So it becomes an intergalactic superhero clash mixed with sci-fi space adventure. Overall, I would definitely recommend the entire Ronos trilogy. Pick it up. And, Tyler, if you're watching this, I hope you keep writing because what I'm seeing within these books is definitely potential to be New York Times bestseller one of these days. I definitely think that there's a lot more development coming from you, and I really look forward to seeing you develop as a writer and all your future books as well. One thing I will definitely say is that I've made some comparisons to Ender's Game, and the impact, the psychological or impact from the characters, I think, wasn't as strong as Ender's Game, but I think that's because Mac knew what was going on. Um, knew what was happening and why he was doing what he was doing, which I think definitely makes a difference. But and that's okay. Like that's still good, and it still helps to further the story along, even though with these different reasons. I think overall, for the character of Mac, the ending of the book was not as impactful for this character as it was in Ender's Game. But I think there's good reason for that. And I really want to see what's in the future for Mac. Like, it definitely has been left wide open to be able to really continue on with this series. The Ronald's universe. What happens after all these events? Where does Mac end up, and how does his story continue? And I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to reading that. So I really hope, Tyler, if you're watching, that you will write more about Mac. Uh, don't stop with the Ronald's universe. Don't don't end it here, because I think there's so much potential to this story, and there's a lot more that we can do. So again, as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I hope you comment and subscribe below, and definitely pick up this series, check it out, and of course, don't forget to stay tuned for my next review, which will probably be a little ways out. It might take a while here because I am picking up Orson Scott Card's Maps in a Mirror, the short fiction of Orson Scott Card. So nice, big, thick book, small writing, but it should be good. Collection of all of his short stories from like 1977 through 1990. So it should be a good read. Of course, don't forget to comment, subscribe below, and stay tuned for the next Drew's book reviews. Thank you so much, and have a great day.